Good morning and welcome to our webinar, A Cure for Bad Business Intelligence. Today we're going to look at some relevant e-commerce metrics and the different options that are available to capture and analyze all of these metrics. My name is Christina Del Villar and I'm the Director of Marketing here at WebGility, and I will be your host today. I'd like to introduce to you Rob and Nikhil. Rob heads up our operations and product here at WebGility. He started his career at KPMG and led audits for public and private companies across a range of industries. He then founded a subscription-based advisory company where they helped hundreds of companies simplify their operational complexities. Nikhil is our product manager for Highlight, which we'll get into later, and he also founded a social venture called Clink, which connects donors to educational non-government organizations in India. Thank you guys both for being here today.
Thanks, you.
Thank you.
So I'll walk through the agenda. First, I will cover some housekeeping items. Then we'll talk about WebGility and the different family of products that we have. And then we're going to spend the majority of the time talking about the BI landscape. And finally, we will look at our new solution called Highlight. We will most likely have time for Q&A, and we'll get into that a little later. So we'll go on to housekeeping items for everyone. Right now, everyone is set on mute, but if you have a question at any point in the presentation, please feel free to submit them via the question box. We will try to get to as many of these questions as possible. Some of them will actually integrate into the conversation. Some of them will just wait until the end of the presentation as well. So, but again, at any time, feel free to put those in there. We are going to be recording the webinar, and we will make both the recording and the slides available to you after the webinar, probably in about a day or two. So, and also feel free to participate via Twitter using the hashtag Highlight as we go through the presentation, and hopefully everyone will enjoy what we have to say today. So, without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started? Rob, why don't you talk a little bit about the WebGility solutions that we currently have right now?
Great, thanks, Christina. And good morning, everyone. Simply put, WebGility focuses on helping the multi-channel e-commerce merchant simplify their operations and succeed. So it should come as no surprise that our current products, Unify and Unify Enterprise, were designed to do just that. By connecting sales, order, shipping, and customer data with out-of-the-box integrations into over 75 platforms, including stores and marketplaces, these two products show you the relevant data in a centralized place that helps you take action on the day-to-day activities of running an e-commerce store. From order management and fulfillment to customer communication, internal team collaboration, and back-office accounting, Unify and Unify Enterprise bring everything into one system so you can streamline your operations, automate processes, and get back to focusing on things you love. All that being said, however, today's discussion is about a topic that excites, terrifies, and disappoints all at the same time: business intelligence. We'll start things off, though, with a poll question. I want to get an understanding of what you're looking at as business owners to understand your business's performance. The options here are industry reports from analysts, the built-in reporting tools that you use from your individual applications, the standalone business intelligence tools that are typically considered BI options, another analysis, maybe you use spreadsheets or you have somebody come in and provide you with a report, or you simply don't have the time. You're still buried in running your day-to-day operations that it's too hard to get insights. So we'll collect the answers for that later, but for now we're going to continue on. So let's take a look at the BI landscape. We'll start off with the in-app metrics. Things like BigCommerce, Shopify, MailChimp, all of these day-to-day applications have some sort of built-in analytics or metrics. Now this is really great because obviously they're low cost, they're extremely easy to use, and they're very specific to your business. By definition, living inside of one of these applications, they have the data from your business, they know the industry that you're in some cases, and you don't have to do anything to set it up. The bad news is about some of these tools is that there's no visibility across your business because they live in just one application. They don't teach you necessarily anything about the analytics that they're providing. You can't customize in any way, And there's no way to benchmark your performance against the industry as a whole because the application you're using most likely does not have access to the entire industry. So while in-app metrics are very valuable and super easy to use, they fall short of really giving you insights for your entire business. So let's move on to the next one, which in this case is industry reports. Everybody may be aware of podcasts, they may be aware of journals and online blogs, but underlying a lot of this content is actually research papers provided by analysts who are going very deep into an industry such as e-commerce or retail in general. They're incredibly insightful, they're super educational, and they have a ton of research value all built in. In some cases, they're even low or no cost. Unfortunately, though, they come out very infrequently because there's a lot of work that goes into preparing each and every one of them. The learnings are typically vague. They don't relate to your business. They may relate to your industry, but it's very hard to find a research paper that hits your exact target market, your size, and your location. The metrics that they provide, by definition, must be broad because they're covering an entire industry. And therefore, there's no way to really relate it to your business day to day. Lastly, let's look at the typical BI tool. Now, here's where the competition gets extremely stiff. There's a ton of options in this field, and they do have a lot of really positive points. Specifically, they have one of the only cross-system capabilities. They're able to connect to almost any data source. They're able to pull in information, and you can customize them to connect to something of your own building, to show you a metric that they didn't have pre-built beforehand, and you're able to use it as a Swiss Army knife of unimaginable power to see really deep information about your business. Unfortunately, though, by being so broad and powerful, they're not industry specific. They don't provide guidance or education. And in most cases, the implementation for a BI tool looks to you as the topic expert to guide which metrics are shown and how they should be calculated. In addition, because they are so broad and they connect to everything, the implementation cost is fairly high. Most implementations require custom development, a team to come out and do the implementation for you and install the system, even if it's a cloud-based solution, which then results in significant time and setup costs. Some examples here are Domo. You've all heard of Good Data and some of the other people in this industry. There are no shortage of options for BI tools. But, as we noticed, they do have some shortcomings.
So, Rob, we were talking to Barry Levin from Marketing Land last week, and he was talking about how it's really hard for e-commerce business owners to really truly understand the actual net profit of their product. That would include shipping, fees, everything that's sort of associated with it that sometimes we don't think about, but they're there, hidden costs, or whatever you want to talk about, free shipping. Can you talk about how these tools sort of fail in helping companies understand sort of that entire funnel and the entirety of the expense?
Absolutely. So we'll start with industry reports because it's pretty clear why that wouldn't help you with that type of question. It doesn't have your data, right? It only has trends across the industry. The in-app metrics get a little bit closer because they can show you each of those pieces. They can show you your shipping costs, your payment processor fees, which customers you have and how often they come back, but it doesn't connect the dots. So each of these tools may be powerful in their day-to-day capabilities, but until you pull the data together and really stitch it so that it talks to itself, it doesn't really give you that type of insight. And the BI tool could potentially do that, but for the small and growing company who wants to invest $50,000 to $100,000 just to see that type of data. Right? So now that we've looked at the current state of BI, let's move a little forward and imagine a better place. Specifically in this graphic, you see the highlighted center sections. What those are all the positives of each of these current industry options. So imagine a business intelligence tool that instead of waiting for you to define what metrics you need to see, it tells you what you need to see, what's important about your industry and your business. It also teaches you what each of those metrics mean. So instead of just giving you a number and waiting for you to go Google it, or giving you an instruction manual or a training course. It actually teaches you along the way. So there's never a need to leave the system.
Yeah, and I think that's important because, again, we, of the thousands of customers we have, a lot of them don't even know to look at these statistics and metrics or how to use them or leverage them. So I think that's really critical.
Yep, and I mean, it's not that you couldn't find this if you had the time, but again, who has the time to go research what the key metrics are? You're busy running your business.
Right.
So again, if you have a BI tool that knows your industry and it knows it well enough, it can make recommendations and define the metrics for you. There's no need to go set up, configure, or define the metrics ahead of time. And realistically, if you get all this, why not have something that's also inexpensive? So with all that said, I'll stop leading into it. We can talk about our solution. We're calling it Highlight. And as you can see, we're using the same general graphic, but effectively what Highlight does is fills in all the gaps here. Between in-app metrics and industry reports, you see that there's an industry-specific capability that's really critical. Needs to really understand what's going on with e-commerce or retail. Beyond that, when you cross in-app metrics and BI tools are lacking the ability to set up quickly and easily, but in-app metrics lack the ability to be flexible. Thirdly, at the intersection of industry reports and BI tools, you're missing the powerful insights that are available by knowing your industry and going really deep with all of your data. So effectively what Highlight does is tries to sit in the center of that. It's contextual analysis with e-commerce industry KPIs and metrics tailored to your business because it's pulling just your data, and it's got educational insights along the way with minimal setup and a very low cost.
Great, and I know you're going to go into further detail about this. We have a question that came in, and again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the question box. Somebody's asking, how does this compare to some of the other reporting companies that are out there, like Fiscal Advantage or Spotlight or Fathom?
Okay, that's a really great question. So what all of these other reporting tools, or many of these other reporting tools, do is they would fit in the in-app metrics category. What they do is sit on top of another system that is aggregating as much data as possible. In the ones that were mentioned, I think you said Spotlight Reporting and Fathom, those ones sit on top of an accounting system. So by definition, you have to get your bookkeeping perfect in order for them to then take the accounting data and provide you some ratios. The downside of that is even after you've done everything perfectly, the context of any individual transaction is lost because your shipping costs go into one category, your sales go into another category, your customer information goes into a CRM somewhere, so the actual context is lost, which is why we think that going directly to the systems and connecting them in the same way that a BI tool does really adds an additional layer of clarity.
Great.
So let's continue on. I'm actually going to introduce Nikhil here. He's going to walk through what using Highlight is really like.
Thanks, Rob. So I'm going to take you guys through the product right now. This is the login page for Highlight. As you can see, all you need is your email and password, and then you can enter the app. When you get into the app, you will be first brought to a connection hub. Here you can connect your stores, your channels, your shipping, inventory, and payment processors. So we'll go ahead and do text fields to enter, no surveys, forms, or complex installation processes. And if you need help finding the credentials, we have tutorials to walk you through it. So you press continue, and you are in Highlight. With just your stores connected, you are able to get multi-channel clarity of your business. You can see your average order value across channels, as well as your total sales by channel. These give you your day-to-day revenue performance in one place, so you're not having to check all of your stores and tools separately.
Yeah, that's a great point, Nikhil. This is a perfect example of how Highlight takes the concept of the in-app metrics and pushes it further to provide insights for all the sales channels a modern omni-channel or multi-channel business has?
So beyond multi-channel insights, Highlight also can go into your shipping. So this pop-up will show the shipping tool that you selected in the Connection Hub. So all you have to do is add it, and you have a heat map of your shipping costs. Now you can be more strategic about where you house inventory, for example, and seeing where it costs you most to ship. I'm guessing this guy is going to want to keep his inventory in California. So beyond shipping, Highlight also allows you to go deeper into your top products and customers. If they want to understand who is buying from them, they can unlock their new versus returning customers and their contribution to profit by customer. Both of these metrics give you a deeper sense of who your customers really are. Are you maintaining a healthy 40-60 split between your new and old customers? What percentage of profit is made by your top 10 customers alone?
And Nikhil, I think this is really important because, as I mentioned before, we have over 5,000 customers, and we've been looking at this data for a long time and what is important to them. And again, they might not have even known to look at or have the capabilities to see, which ones are returning customers and how they can focus their marketing and sales dollars. So this is really significant information that they're getting now.
Definitely.
And I'll go even one step further. There's a lot of industry discussion about how to target your highest value customers and identify what people call as whales. This makes it super simple to identify the customers or handful of customers that are driving the majority of your revenue or your profit.
Great, yeah, and so Highlight also can go from customers into your products. So we will go into your product metrics, and you can see things like your gross profit by SKU, inventory days to 0, and contribution to profit. You can easily find your best items across channels, see which ones make you the most money, and which ones you need to reorder so you don't oversell.
Yeah, and I think I was talking to some of our customers after the holiday season, and this was a big issue for them because a lot of them were on channels where they were offering free shipping. So they were selling a lot, but it ended up that their margin on that product wasn't as good because they were using the free shipping options on certain channels. So this is really useful information for them to see, again, across the channels what it is that they're spending and what that profit margin per product by channel really is.
Absolutely. And this screen may look really simple, but you just hit on one of the really powerful insights there, is that you can actually see in a single view the information related to each and every product across all of your channels that indicates what's really keeping the lights on day to day, after shipping costs, after the cost of the inventory, which product is really driving the revenue that helps you pay your employees, keep your rent paid, and keep the lights on. It's a really important metric that would take you hours across multiple different systems and tons of different spreadsheets to get to. So I also want to point out that, as we mentioned earlier, the education is built in. So under each and every one of these metrics, there's actually a detailed explanation of what the metric is, how it's calculated, what the impact is on your business, and how to utilize it to improve the future performance of your business. The goal here is you should never feel like you don't understand what's going on in the dashboard. If you look around a little bit, it'll all be explained. So we had a chance to put Highlight through a small test with a couple users, and I just wanted to highlight here some of the great things that they said. As the first user pointed out, it's a really straightforward interface, and the metrics are always the top of the discussion. The big thing with the POS systems and other systems is that running reports is really a pain, right? It takes too long, and even though the data is already there, it's much easier to come to one place with everything centralized. There's some metrics like AOV where you can look at it through Magento and Google Analytics, but once a quarter is about as fast as you can do it because it takes a lot of work. And then running reports on the POS takes too long. I want to go to one place and have the data there already. So these, among many other comments, are some of the positive things that came out of just a very short beta experience.
Great, Rob, we're getting some questions. One question is, can you define, so we've used some terminology like AOV and some of the other metrics that matter. Can you guys kind of define some of the more critical metrics?
Yeah, definitely. So we can start off with AOV. It's sort of the base hit of metrics. It's just sort of understanding what the average order value of a checkout or an order on a particular channel is. And the importance there is, as you mentioned, sometimes you'll give away free shipping. In some cases, you can actually have additional profit and provide the customer a little bit more happiness, I guess, or a smoother transaction by setting that free shipping at something close to your average order value. So if most of your customers are checking out somewhere around $75 or $80, which is roughly our customer average, you can set the free shipping at, say, $85, $90. When a customer would otherwise pay you $5, $6, $7 for shipping, now they provide you an additional $10 or $15 of revenue, and they get the free shipping. So having that type of data and seeing just where you are at one of those basic benchmarks can really help make the first level of strategic moves. Beyond that, when you look at the customer contribution the contribution by customer or the contribution by SKU, you can actually see really complex aggregate information about the net profit related to a particular product. Imagine if you're taking over a new company. If you buy a new e-commerce business, you may have a catalog of 10,000 products. Wouldn't it be great to sign into one location, look at the historical information, and identify the 25 or maybe even 2,500 products that you don't need to sell anymore because they always lose money, and then look at and identify the top 100 products that have been driving the real business value.
Excellent. We thought we'd go back over the poll now that we so we'll show that again, show the results. So if you want to kind of talk about that.
Yeah. So the poll results here show that a little under 10% of you are using industry reports from analysts. A little over half are using the built-in reporting tools. Around a quarter are using the standalone business intelligence apps, and 15 or so % are using something else. My guess is that the something else is a combination of gut feeling, of Excel, or just sort of eyeballing it, which were all good choices in the past. But in today's industry, there's no reason to be stuck with those options. The standalone business intelligence tools, I'm sure that everybody using those is really happy now that they've finished installing and got the whole setup running. But specifically to the built-in reporting tools, I wonder if anybody there feels the lack of visibility, you know?
Sure, and again, it's not going across all the different channels, so
exactly.
They're potentially seeing siloed information, you know, within those different apps, or maybe they're just looking at one of the apps sort of as the go-to. So I think we'll go ahead and start some Q&A. So if you have some questions, which we have a bunch coming in, we'll just go ahead and start going through those. Somebody's asking a question about whether Highlight works with OpenCart. So it's probably a good time to, you know, you mentioned that we work with a lot of different platforms and shopping carts, so you kind of want to walk through all the different ones that we worked through. And as we went through the demo, there was a chart that kind of showed all the ones, not all of them, but kind of gave a good view of all the different options that people have when they first are setting up in Highlight.
Yep. So this is a quick overview of the connections that are capable, and this is only a portion because the screen does continue to scroll down. But we have, as I mentioned before, over 75 platforms that we connect to. So yes, OpenCart right there, third row by third column, is definitely something that we integrate with, along with obviously dozens of other carts, shipping tools, inventory tools, and we're adding new ones every week.
That's great. Excellent. Somebody's asking a question, how can Highlight be leveraged in FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, only business model?
So in an FBA-only model, it's actually a very interesting question. We're building additional capabilities at extracting the metadata within an FBA type of setup. It is a little more difficult because Amazon likes to avoid telling you a lot of information. I think everybody on the call can agree with that. So we do our best to pull some of the shipping information from there, still identify customers, even if it's sort of an encrypted information. We can oftentimes still link it. So there is a little bit less functionality there, only because Amazon is so tight-fisted about the information, but we get a little bit further every day.
Great, excellent. Somebody's asking how this differs from what they might be getting through BigCommerce Analytics, or, you know, again, whatever, if it's just a standalone sort of
Yep.
product that they're leveraging.
Yep. So if we go back, I think the multi-channel was the best example of this. And this is basically saying if you had the BigCommerce analytics, you may have just the blue line here, which is valuable. You get the AOV for your BigCommerce channel. You may even see some customer information, your total sales over time. A lot of the information that we're able to give is available in BigCommerce. But if you have more than one channel, you've immediately lost that visibility across your business. There's no way to compare to see if your BigCommerce channel is doing better than another, if there's seasonal fluctuations, if, for example, you have a higher margin in one channel than another. It'd be really valuable to know that so that you can target your email marketing, provide some of these discounts to shift a customer from one channel to another.
Great, and somebody's asking a question, I'm pretty sure it's probably a customer of ours. They're trying to sort of understand the differentiation between like how this would sync with QuickBooks. So again, I think they might be thinking of some of our other products, so if you want to sort of differentiate between Unify Enterprise, and how Highlight's working right now, that would be
Yeah, definitely. This product specifically is Insights. We are focused on giving you the information that exists within your business in a simple, easy-to-use, streamlined format. Right now, when we connect to accounting systems, it's only to pull information. It's only to identify the costs of your inventory, to identify some customers and their past purchase history, things like that that are useful in aggregating this data. Although you can see on the bottom left that we do have some basic P&L or income statement type financial information, that's only there to ground us and make sure that we're still providing you everything you need to see in one location. Highlight at this point does not do any syncing. It does not change the data in any of these systems. So there's no need to create a PO or take any action off of this automatically.
Got it. Makes sense. Someone's asking about you talked a little bit about the educational component and the recommendations that Highlight makes, and they're wondering sort of when and how that happens. So you kind of talk through the concept of these recommendations and when somebody might actually see those and how they can leverage them.
Absolutely. So we're constantly improving the product. It was just recently launched last week, and very shortly we'll actually be providing a whole new section of Insights. And what that does is takes the metrics, the education that lives behind all of these graphs that explains what they are, and your specific results to combine and create sometimes simple, sometimes very complex recommendations. For example, when you have two channels, if, for example, you have one that's on a marketplace or for some reason has the same items but a lower margin, identifying that as an action item to target those customers historically and provide them a discount to move to the other channel, you may be able to give the same product for a lower price while making a higher margin and make your customers happy lifetime customers.
Excellent. Sort of segues into the next question I have around marketing and social media. So a question is, does Highlight integrate into social media, MailChimp, and again, how does it sort of work with marketing and advertising? And again, I know that we're expanding on the product itself, but if you want to talk about potentially where we're going, that would be great.
Absolutely. So Highlight is definitely going to go down the channel of understanding your entire funnel. So in the near future, we'll be adding some Google Analytics, we'll be adding some other marketing tools as well in order to provide the context of when you spend money on, say, an AdWords campaign and you see the traffic spike, to identify whether those customers are high value or low value, see if they're actually driving new purchases. There's a lot of easy information, there's a lot of really deep information that can be gotten from those types of comparisons.
Right. And as a marketing person, for me, this is critical information because it helps me plan my programs a little better. So can you talk a little bit about the roles that might leverage Highlight and again, kind of in context to what they would get out of it?
Absolutely. So right now, Highlight is single user only, designed for either the business manager or the owner or somebody in a central position of understanding so that they can take action across the business. Now, as we build out additional metrics and new connections, there's going to be too much information to grasp for a single person. And so, as you mentioned with, say, marketing information, we're going to be tailoring that to particular users, giving a marketing insights dashboard, giving an operations insight dashboard, giving an accounting or finance dashboard so that each user can go deeper into the metrics that relates to their business.
Great, sounds good. And someone's asking how much it costs.
That is a great question. So in comparison to some of the business intelligence tools out there that run usually starting at $200 a month, sometimes up to multiple thousands. I think I heard a quote that Domo was over $100,000 a year. We're offering this at $49 a month or $475 a year.
Great. And then also someone's asking if this system can help reorder inventory for them.
Another great question. So very similar to our integration with accounting and other inventory systems, Highlight does not take action on the other systems. We will be providing in the future some ability to alert, maybe even email, but right now what Highlight will do is allow you some insight in advance to when your inventory is going to run out so you can begin that reorder process.
I think we don't have any more questions at this time, so I guess we'll wrap up the webinar. I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and thank you, Nikhil and Rob, for presenting and giving us a look at Highlight. And again, we will be able to send out the slides and the presentation itself in probably about a day or two, so look for that. And if you have any more questions, feel free just to reach out to us. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time today, and hopefully this was useful, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Highlight.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.